Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Toya Singh. This is the show where we try to look at all of the day's stories through just the lens of facts. For our first story, we're focusing on the Supreme Court's order on Rahul Gandhi that came in just a few hours ago. This was a pronouncement that the Congress has hailed as historic and one that had Congress offices across the country jubilant in celebration. Back in 2019, Gandhi made a statement at a political rally in Karnataka where he remarked that all criminals, and he gave the example of Nirav Modi, Lalit Modi, have the last name Modi. Now, the remark was an obvious veil dig at the Prime Minister, but a complainant, Purnesh Modi, who's also a BJP MLA, he took offence. He filed a case accusing him of insulting the entire Modhwanik community. Now, after a Surat court convicted Gandhi and sentenced him to 2 years in prison for the remark, Gandhi, who was an MP from Wayanad, got disqualified from the parliament but decided to appeal against the verdict in the highest court of the land. Now, today's verdict is one that, as we just told you, the Congress has called, in their words, a validification of their fight for the truth. Today on the show, we look to understand what it actually means for Gandhi, for the Congress, and perhaps most importantly, for the grand INDIA Opposition Alliance's 2024 future. First, let's take a quick look at the observations of the court. Number one, the Apex Court observed that the offences were non-compoundable, bailable and cognizable. Number two, that the rights of the electorate who elected him were considered. Number three, the Supreme Court even observed that there was no reason cited by the trial court for the maximum punishment, and that's very important. They essentially said that when the court had given him 2 years, they hadn't cited why they'd given him that maximum punishment. The Supreme Court even said that the utterance of Rahul Gandhi's were not in good taste. So they have, in a sense, chided him there with that remark. The court said that he must exercise caution while making public speeches. This is the last of our summaries of what it is that the court had to say. Now, the ball is in the Lok Sabha Speaker's court on this big question of what does this mean for Rahul Gandhi entering the parliament. If the Speaker revokes Rahul's disqualification, which he is largely expected to, it would have several implications. Let's take a very quick look at what they are. Number one, most obviously, he'll be reinstated as a member of parliament. Number two, no by-polls for Wayanad, just direct polls in 2024. Number three, Rahul Gandhi will be able to contest the 2024 polls. And the next one is particularly important. Number five, Rahul Gandhi could participate in the no trust motion that is set to be tabled. Remember, the opposition has already said they're going to be tabling a no trust motion. The Prime Minister is expected to speak. And you might remember the last time a no trust motion like this was tabled and Rahul Gandhi gave what was looked at as a jadoo ki jhappi to the Prime Minister in the press. Implication number five, Rahul Gandhi could, there's a heavy could here, become the prime ministerial face of the INDIA Opposition Alliance in 2024. That's obviously if all the opposition parties in the alliance are on board with it. That's the deeper dive we're taking today. In just a few minutes, the Modi surname row, relief for Rahul Gandhi. Is it a big boost for the INDIA in 2024? Let's take a look at that political journey in just a second. This is Plain Speak.
आज नहीं तो कल, कल नहीं तो परसों सच्चाई की जीत होती है। मेरा रास्ता तो क्लियर है, मुझे क्या करना है, मेरा क्या काम है, उसके बारे में मेरे दिमाग में बिल्कुल क्लैरिटी है।
डेमोक्रेसी की जीत हो गई, संविधान की जीत हो गई, सत्यमेव जयते।
हम अब संसद में उत्सुकता से जनता से जुड़े मुद्दों पर श्री राहुल गांधी को और श्री राहुल गांधी की बुलंद आवाज सुनने के लिए तैयार हैं। फिर से चलेगी सवालों की आंधी जब संसद में लौटेंगे राहुल गांधी।
Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak. Let's very quickly walk you through all of the panelists we have with us already on the show. Anila Singh will be joining us in just a second. She'll be representing the BJP. Apart from that, we already have with us Salman Soz. He's a Congress spokesperson. We have Biswajit Deb from the TMC. We also have Shekhar Iyer. He's a senior journalist. All three of them are with us already. Good evening, sirs. Thank you for joining us here on CNN News 18 this evening. Sirs, I'm actually going to come over to each of you one by one. I'm going to request that we don't talk over each other. Let's go very quickly first to Mr. Soz, the Congress spokesperson who's with us. Sir, I want to ask you, we've watched the Congress's celebrations. We've heard each of the Congress's reactions to the story. The Congress is really hailing this as watershed. Many of the leaders we've had come on our channel over the day have said that this speaks very highly of the Supreme Court. So I want to understand from you, one thing we haven't heard them comment on yet though, is the part of the verdict in which the Supreme Court does seem to, chide might be too strong a word, but does seem to say lightly, suggest to Rahul Gandhi that the choice of wording and the location in public was perhaps not correct. We haven't heard too many Congress leaders comment on that yet, sir. Why is that?
I'm happy to comment on that too, but first let me just say that today I think is a good day for Indian democracy. It's democracy in this country has been under attack, and I think the Supreme Court is beginning to step up and take its rightful place as a co-equal member of this government. And I think the excesses of the Modi government, they need to be stopped. And I think the Supreme Court is now, it seems to me, stepping in when it is really becoming more and more necessary. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is no ordinary member of parliament. He's, after all, the senior most leader of the Indian National Congress, which is the largest opposition party in the country. And they were going to basically send him to jail for the maximum sentence in a defamation case that has ever been announced. Now, that was the conspiracy. To my mind, hashed at the highest levels of the BJP. Now, coming to your question, and I want to answer this directly. The kinds of things that are said by politicians around the country, if the Supreme Court had to actually view them all, I'm sure the Supreme Court would have a lot of things to say to a lot of people. For example, the Prime Minister called my friend Sunanda Pushkar a 50 crore girlfriend. If that case had gone to the Supreme Court, if we had basically persecuted the Prime Minister to make sure that he's prosecuted, then what would the Supreme Court say about that comment, I ask? I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court would have said that the Prime Minister should not just be careful, but he should be more respectful of women, which he is not. When he goes to Calcutta and says, Didi, or Didi, like a small-time gunda, that's the way he spoke about the Chief Minister of West Bengal. I think the Supreme Court, in that kind of, if the Supreme Court had been, hearing some complaint about the Prime Minister at that time, I'm sure the Supreme Court would have said something to the Prime Minister as well. As far as we're concerned, this is a great day. Rahulji is going to be back in Parliament. And I, in fact, tweeted today that the Prime Minister should be there. He should welcome him because, after all, his colleague has not been disqualified, is now going to rejoin, most likely by Monday, if not sooner. And we have a lot of things to discuss with the Prime Minister, especially Manipur and all the craziness that's happening in the country right now.
Mr. Soz, can I just very quickly summarize what you said? Because I want to then take what you said over to the BJP representative we have joining us. I want to summarize the part that was actually the answer to the question I was asking you. I was asking you what the Congress's comment was to the Supreme Court sentence, specifically the part where they said that the utterances of Rahul Gandhi were not in good taste. To that you said that if we raised to the Supreme Court multiple things said by other leaders from other parties, for example the BJP, and you gave the example of the Prime Minister, then there would be plenty to complain about, plenty to talk about. I hope that's a correct summary. Let's very quickly go over to Anila Singh for the BJP's response. Ms. Singh.
All right. My Ram to everyone, and I was listening to Mr. Salman Soz, and he said that Narendra Modi ji is so disrespectful towards women. This is such a blatant lie. He is one Prime Minister in the history of independent India who has empowered women. He has taken all those steps by which women get social and financial security. No other Prime Minister has ever done the work which he has done for the women. And let me tell you, sir, if you say that Mr. Modi should censor his language, Mr. Modi should know that what he is talking about, then what you have to say about Rahul Gandhi when he says that चौकीदार ही चोर है, पूरे हिंदुस्तान की गली गली में शोर है, चौकीदार चोर है. When he says प्रधानमंत्री हिटलर है, जबकि we know it very well that what sort of genocide happened in Kashmir and what happened to Sikh. Under your government, Sikhs were slaughtered. So thirdly, Sare Modi chor hai. This is what he said, the latest one, because of which Rahul Gandhi got some sort of relief and they are rejoicing this moment. Though Supreme Court has not said that he is Supreme Court has not given a clean chit to him. Rahul Gandhi said that Modi ko 6 mahine mein log dhande maar ke bhagayenge. He said Rahul Gandhi said that PM bhopu hai, jeb katra hai, pickpocket. He called Prime Minister of this country pickpocket. Jawano ki khoon ki dalali ki. Sonia Gandhi says that मोदी जो है वो मौत का सौदागर है. प्रियंका वाड्रा सेज कि मोदी जो है वो दुर्योधन है. कोई कहता है मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी.
I'm actually going to have to ask you to wait. Rahul Gandhi. I want to go over to a guest that we have with us right now. Okay, we're actually joined by the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Prithviraj Chavan. He's with us right now. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us this evening on CNN News 18. So, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can
hear
you.
All right. That's great, sir. Sir, can I just first take from you your reaction to what it is that the Supreme Court had to say in their pronouncement today?
Well, Supreme Court, while adjudicating on Rahul Gandhi's appeal, has very, very clearly said that this decision to punish Mr. Rahul Gandhi for a defamation matter and pronounce a sentence of 2 years was too excessive, and they have stayed the sentence there. Therefore, Rahul Gandhi is now free to rejoin the parliament. His disqualification stands vacated and the matter will continue in the appropriate courts. But this was clearly an excessive punishment for election speech which did not even defame any particular person, but to a plan that Rahul Gandhi had to be kept out of parliament. The maximum possible punishment under the defamation law, under section 500 of the IPC, was pronounced. With the maximum possible punishment is also the minimum punishment required to disqualify a member of parliament under the People's Representation Act. So I think both of them seen together makes it very clear that for a defamation law which prescribes a maximum punishment of 2 years, never, even during the British time, it's a very old law, even during the British time, nobody ever gave a punishment up to 2 years for defamation, for a speech causing some hurt or some loss of dignity. But in this particular case, for the first time, the maximum possible punishment of 2 years was pronounced against Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and with the pronouncement of 2 years of sentence in a defamation case, he was convicted and automatically he is disqualified under the Representation of People's Act. So, government wanted to keep Rahul Gandhi out of the parliament and they succeeded in doing that. He was immediately asked to vacate his house and he no longer could represent the people of Wayanad. Rahul Gandhi appealed in various courts. He was not successful in the lower courts, but ultimately Supreme Court has very decisively said that this was not on. Supreme Court has stayed the order and Rahul Gandhi is free to rejoin the parliament now.
Okay. Mr. Chavan, I want to ask you, there is a part of the pronouncement in which the Supreme Court has, however, said that the utterances of Gandhi were not in good taste. Do you have a response to that, sir?
Well, actually, were they defamatory? Did they defame a particular person? They did not. Of course, the choice of language for a senior leader, the court said that it could have been avoided, could have been better. Okay, that's a opinion of the court, but he did not defend any particular person. Now, to say that he defended the community is completely bizarre, because the name Modi could be not necessarily a OBC name. There are Muslims who are Modis, there are Parsis who are Modis. It's more of a trade name given to certain community who practice certain trade or certain calling in life. So I think, and he did not name the person who had moved the court. He said that some people were facing corruption charges, or we had made certain corruption charges against certain people. Certain people had defrauded the banks of the country and run away. They are official absconders under the Indian law. And he just named those people. But those people have not moved the defamation proceedings against Mr. Rahul Gandhi. It is some other person, a BJP Karyakarta, a former minister. So I think the whole thing was politically motivated to keep Rahul Gandhi out of parliament. They succeeded partly, but ultimately Supreme Court has ruled that the conviction is stayed.
Okay, sir, I want to ask you, is it too early to ask the question, Rahul Gandhi is the face of 2024 INDIA?
No, I think it has been made very clear by Mr. Khadge and the leaders of the India Alliance that our objective is to unseat Mr. Modi. Our objective is to field one India Alliance candidate against the BJP's candidate. Our objective is to avoid division of votes, which happened in 2014 and 2019, which helped Mr. Modi to get elected. So our objective is first to dethrone, to defeat Mr. Modi, who leads the government after we are able to defeat Mr. Modi and the India Alliance wins the election. We'll take a call at that time. There is no need to announce a prime ministerial candidate, because after all we are not a US presidential style of democracy, we are a parliamentary democracy where two political parties, two political ideologies fight against each other, and that's what we're trying to do now. There are 28 parties lined up on one side. Modi has, in a panic, gathered together more 38 parties, but no matter what he does, the division of vote as it happened in 2014 and 2019 would be avoided this time because of the India Alliance.
Okay, so one last question for you. One of the things that the BJP is pointing to right now is that the Supreme Court has stayed the conviction, but another case related to the same story is very much in the Sessions Court as we speak. I want to ask you, sir, what is the Congress's legal strategy when it comes to that case?
No, we will be fighting wherever an appeal is possible. The appeal will be, will go into an appeal. We are sure if the Supreme Court has pronounced a particular verdict, I think the lower courts will take a cue from that. But we will continue to fight, whether in the Surat Sessions Court or if required in the higher court. But we will fight in every possible judicial opportunity that we get. And our legal team will fight the case, because the justice is on our side. This punishment was too excessive. This was with a particular political motive, not to get justice for the victims, because there is no really victim. He never defamed anybody, but it was to achieve a political objective of keeping Rahul Gandhi out of parliament, which they partly succeeded. But thanks to the Supreme Court verdict today, he goes back to parliament tomorrow. He may be able to join the no confidence debate if it happens in parliament. And I think, of course, we'll continue to lead, continue to be an important face of the India Alliance in the forthcoming 24 Lok Sabha election.
Prithviraj Chavan, sir, thank you so much for joining us this evening on CNN News 18.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back to our panelists. I now want to go over to senior journalist Shekhar Iyer, who's with us. Mr. Iyer, one of the points that we saw the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra make in the interview we just had with him was something that we've heard a number of Congress leaders point out since this conviction first took place, that the sentence that was given to Rahul Gandhi was far sterner than anything we'd seen precedents for in the past. 2 years for a defamation case. So what is your comment on that particular point? Because it's something that the Supreme Court also talked about today.
Yeah, definitely, Toya. Supreme Court has pointed out, particularly Justice Gawai mentioned this, that why did not the lower court or the high court justify giving that maximum punishment. Why was it necessary? No reason was given. Normally, in a verdict, when a quantum of punishment is given, it is also explained, the judgment explains why that is given. In this particular case, the Supreme Court noted that the quantum of punishment has not been given. Even if 120 pages of the Gujarat High Court also did not say why such a severe punishment had to be given. But at the same time, Toya, I want to point out another observation. You mentioned about how Rahul Gandhi's remarks were not made in good taste and person in the public life. This was in the context of Rahul Gandhi's counsel, Abhishek Singhvi, telling the Supreme Court that there is a room for dissent in democracy, to which the Supreme Court made that observation. Dissent doesn't mean you make indecent comments. And also it said another thing, I think that's also important, that Supreme Court reminded Rahul Gandhi that, it had advised him to be more careful in public utterances in the Rafale case also, where he had to tender an apology for his the chore remarks during the previous general election. Supreme Court mentioned that. But one more thing, I think the political part of it is what Prithvi said just now in the last comment, that he is back as a very important leader of the opposition alliance, which means he is the potential Prime Minister candidate of the Congress. Now, this is whether it boosts the opposition alliance or it makes other opposition alliance partners to wonder, now that Rahul Gandhi doesn't have any hurdle in contesting the Lok Sabha elections and being a powerful potential Prime Minister candidate, that should be a matter of deep thinking among the alliance partners.
We actually have an alliance partner with us. The TMC is with us here right now. Biswajit Deb. Sir, I want to ask you, Mamata Banerjee, Arvind Kejriwal, a number of leaders, Nitish Kumar in Bihar, a number of leaders in the INDIA alliance, and their prime ministerial ambition is well known. Sir, Rahul Gandhi now, this case, the publicity that's come with it, the Bharat Jodo Yatra and the positive publicity it did bring Rahul Gandhi. So how is the TMC seeing this plank that is being pitched again and again, if nowhere else, simply in the media, that Rahul Gandhi could be the INDIA's face for 2024?
Well, our leader, Mamata Banerjee, has welcomed the Supreme Court's verdict today and has clearly said that this particular verdict will strengthen the resolve of India alliance to save our motherland and to save democracy, to save the constitution from Mr. Narendra Modi and his government. Now, regarding what you are asking, you see, we have made it very clear, all parties have made it very clear that whatever happens regarding the choice of the leader, it is a post-election matter. It will be decided after the elections. This is not a call to be taken now. All the parties will sit together after defeating this NDA alliance. We will sit together and we will decide who will be the prime ministerial candidate. That will not be a factor, and BJP is trying. BJP is trying to, you see, play on this particular issue, but this will not work. Whatever has happened in 2014 or 2019 will not be repeated in 2023. You see, with 37% votes in 2019, Mr. Narendra Modi was able to form the government, and 63% votes went against him and against his party. This thing will not happen in 2023.
Okay.
It is India alliance which will fight out NDA, and NDA will be defeated. We will save the constitution, we will save our motherland, and we will save democracy.
Can I just go over to Salman
This is our one-point agenda.
All right. Let me just go over to Mr. Sauz to ask him a question that actually comes from what you just said. Mr. Sauz, I just want to understand from you, one thing that the country has observed in the last few months is the back and forth that we've seen take place between certain chief ministers, certain leaders in the INDIA alliance. In fact, it's incorrect to say over the last few months. Over the last few years is perhaps the more correct phrasing. So I just want to understand, for citizens of India who are meant to vote for the INDIA alliance, wouldn't one fear be that if a name isn't decided before, the opposition unity could potentially fall apart when that name is decided post? How is the Congress going to attend to that fear? Mr. Sauz, are you able to hear me?
Yes. So the first point that I like to mention is that our alliance is still in its formative stages.
Correct.
We haven't made any final decisions yet. However, the Congress President, Mallikarjun Kharge, has been very clear about why the Congress Party is trying to get this alliance, in good shape. The fundamental reason is not for seeking the prime ministership of the country, seeking power for the Indian National Congress. It is to protect the idea of India, protect Indian democracy, protect the constitution, and bring back the rule of law, which this government seems to have totally destroyed. So now, when the election is over, and we believe that if we fight together, and if we really unite and fight together, we have a very good chance of defeating Prime Minister Modi and the BJP. Should that happen, God willing, then we will all come together, because our goal is to provide the kind of government that people will say, yes, this is what we needed. We needed a healing touch. We needed a balm to all the wounds that have been inflicted on
Mr.
us
Sauz,
by
while I
Mr. Modi and the BJP.
While I understand the ideology that is driving the INDIA, and I'm not at all questioning that, sir, I'm trying to understand here the unity that the INDIA is promising. What is the guarantee that that unity will stay post the elections if the INDIA were to win? How is that going to be knit together, especially because we do know that there is a battle of egos that we've seen play out in the months past?
Well, we must remember that one of the most successful experiments in alliance politics in India has been the UPA government that we used to have. So we were there together for 10 years. India has seen many alliances. In fact, alliance governments in India have delivered good results, except for this particular government, which, by the way, is not really an alliance, because the BJP runs roughshod over everybody. So I have no doubt we have very seasoned leaders in not just the Indian National Congress, but all members of the India Alliance. We have Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, we have Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, we have Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, we have the Shiv Sena leader Uddhav Thackeray. We have all sorts of very senior leaders, very seasoned leaders. Mr. Pawar is there. Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav is there, and our own team, led by Kharge ji, Rahul ji, and of course our leader Sonia ji. So I think the country knows that the Indian National Congress and these parties can govern. Okay. We are, I think, the governance alternative, and time will tell. But I have no doubt that we'll be able to rise to the expectations of the Indian people.
Okay, Mr. Sauz, just stay with us. I want to go over now to Anila Singh of the BJP, who stayed with us. Ms. Singh, I'm actually going to step away from this 2024 question and return to what the Supreme Court had to say today. Ms. Singh, one thing that the Supreme Court made very clear, and this is the statement that the Congress has highlighted again and again through the day today, is that the Supreme Court did point to the amount in the sentence, that 2-year part of the sentence. They too were questioning why that 2-year sentence was given. They seem to imply it was far too severe for a defamation case. And as the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra pointed out, there isn't any precedent to something this severe. To that, ma'am, especially now that the Supreme Court has commented on it, what does the BJP have to say?
See, Bharatiya Janata Party is not obliged to answer this question, because this question has to be answered by the court, or I can say the matter has to be sorted out, or solved or answered by the court and the election commission. So Bharatiya Janata Party is not here to answer this question. We know it very well that under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji, NDA is working fantastically, and yes, we do not have very big faces like Mamata Didi or Akhilesh Yadav ji or Stalin.
One second.
Or
leaders in your... Sorry, I came to you and asked you that question because leaders in your party hailed the conviction and the 2-year sentence in particular.
Your own leader is a dictator. Your Mr. Modi and Amit Shah, they are a dictator.
Mr. Deb, one second.
We are not dictators.
What's the problem with you, Mr. Deb?
Mr. Deb, 1 second. No, all right, Anila, I was asking you over here.
Do not point finger towards me and sit.
All right.
Sit finger on your lip. Don't try to teach me that what I have to say.
Okay.
I have to say one thing here when I talk about governance delivered by Narendra.
Don't try to teach me.
It is a fantastic governance. That is why he is the
And
most
your
popular
leader, Mr.
world.
Narendra Modi,
And
is a
whole
dictator.
world. What's the problem with him?
It has been proved since the
I
last
can't
9.5 years. It has
doesn't
been
have any
proved.
channels.
Right.
Oh, shut up
Mr.
now.
Dev.
Listen to me.
No.
I was not interrupting and
Okay.
interjecting you when
All right.
you were talking.
You shut up.
Oh,
You
have
shut
some
up.
decency.
You don't talk. You
Have
don't
some
interfere.
decency.
I'm going to need
You
to
also have
ask.
some decency.
You're coming from a political party which is full of rogues.
I'm going to have to ask Miss
You are one
Anila
amongst
Singh.
them. Why are you not letting me
and you too. And you too. What is your political party? The entire nation knows. The entire nation knows.
This back and forth is really not taking us anywhere. Miss Singh, Mr. Deb, I'm going to ask you both to wait with us. Let's go over to the other speakers we have with us.
Everybody is watching.
Right now, let me go over to Salman Soz, who's with us. Mr. Soz, I'm actually taking this next question to you because we have our other two speakers who are arguing, and I want to come over to you to understand this. It's a question I asked Mr. Chavan too. What's the legal strategy, sir, for the next few months when it comes to the other case regarding this exact matter that is still in the Sessions Court?
You know, there are two things we have to keep in mind. One, of course, there's a legal aspect of all the cases that the BJP kind of hopes and is kind of trying to push so that our leader is either banned from parliament, banned from elections. It seems to me that they're mortally afraid of him. The other aspect is the political aspect. And I think, to be quite honest with you, I feel that the more BJP has pushed this case and other cases against Rahul Gandhi, I think they're backfiring. These are what you would call, self-goals in football. The Women's World Cup is going on. There are lots of self-goals right now. I can see that. And the BJP is actually committing self-goals left, right, and center. Now, they're more than welcome to keep pushing us and keep filing cases against Rahulji and other leaders, but especially Rahulji. And I think my sense is that we will emerge victorious because his heart is in the right place. This was not defamation by a mile, and the Supreme Court justices basically said as much. But they said more than that. They said that the implications of what the Surat court judge did were far wider than what we had been led to believe, because this impacts the constituents of Rahulji in Wayanad, and they were being deprived of his representation. And why was it that there was no reason given for why his conviction could only stand with 2 years of jail term, right, which is exactly the term that the conviction you need for disqualifying a person from parliament. So I think the Supreme Court has raised some very serious questions. I hope the judiciary in Gujarat introspects a little bit, does some reflection as to what is going on, because these kinds of judgments against a very senior opposition leader should not be had.
Okay, all right. Mr. Soz, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for joining us on today's discussion, though it did get a little heated in the center. We're moving on now very quickly. We're taking you to a short break, and on the other side, we're looking at a very different story. Today's first story was political. Our second story is a humanitarian one. An elderly woman died after a lift collapsed at a high-rise in Noida, so just a few kilometers from here. Was it just an accident? Or is it a case of sheer negligence that we see take place again and again in housing societies across the country? We're taking a deeper look in just a few minutes. This is Plain Speak.
That disqualification can go away. He can go back to, in fact, the Lok Sabha Secretariat can ask the Speaker and the Lok Sabha chairman to actually say that, since my conviction has now been stayed, he can be reinstated.
And Rahul Gandhi's Modi surname defamation case has reached the apex court of the country. The Supreme Court at the moment is dictating the order in that very case on the remarks. Remember, Rahul Gandhi had earlier said that it's bizarre to ask me to apologize in the Modi surname case. Today, the Supreme Court has taken up the case that has reached the apex court at the moment. They are now dictating the order. Let's take this across to my colleague Pallavi Ghosh, who's joining us on the broadcast. Pallavi, this is the last-ditch attempt for Rahul Gandhi. We will get to know whether or not that entire conviction stays in this case. It's a big day for him. What are you learning that's coming out of the court?
In fact, we are waiting for the final order to come through, but my colleague Ananya Bhatnagar, who is very much inside the court, is awaiting, and he's giving us some information. And just to quote from what he has given, that basically, according to what he's reporting, is that the court has said that an appeal filed by the appellant is pending in the Sessions Court, and so far as the stake of conviction and sentencing is concerned, we have considered some factors. So we're just going to wait for what Ananya has to give us some more. But it's certainly going to be a very, very big day for Rahul Gandhi. His political future also hinges on this. Remember, consistently Rahul Gandhi's lawyers have made the point that he never actually said anything against any community. He was talking specifically in the context of Lalit Modi and Nirav Modi, both of whom do not belong to the OBC community. And second, the punishment given out to him is in far excess of the so-called crime. If you remember the last hearing which took place in Supreme Court, Rahul Gandhi through his lawyers had clearly made the point, I am not going to be apologizing because I have not said or done anything wrong. What does it really mean? In case the conviction is scratched, he could be reinstated as a member of parliament. So far, no by-elections have been declared from his constituency of Wayanad, and therefore his political future hinges on this. In case his conviction is not scratched, then he can no longer contest elections for at least 6 years, which means at least for 6 years he doesn't enter parliament, and that will always be like a sword hanging over his political future.
Also, Pallavi, the Supreme Court had earlier made a remark that why was a maximum sentence in this particular case was given, because defamation really attracts a 2-year of maximum sentence, and that was slapped to Rahul Gandhi. All of that is being considered today. Of course, like you're mentioning, this is a big attempt and a big day for Rahul Gandhi. It's practically going to be defining his political future, and that there are constant deliberations that are coming out of the court. And from what our colleague Ananya has been reporting, what can we expect today?
So there's more information which is coming in, and this is okay, Supreme Court stays the conviction of Rahul Gandhi. That's the big news which is coming in. Ananya Bhatnagar has just got this news for us.
This is a big breaking news, yes.
A huge relief for Rahul Gandhi.
Alright, so we will just put this out for our viewers. Supreme Court has stayed the conviction of Rahul Gandhi. It's a big relief for Rahul Gandhi in the Modi surname defamation case is concerned. What has happened is the Supreme Court has decided to stay the conviction of Rahul Gandhi. So that disqualification from the parliament also now can be taken away, and there you have it. The maximum sentence was given by a Surat court, which is now being stayed by the apex court of the country. Supreme Court there staying the conviction of Rahul Gandhi. Big relief for the Congress leader. Remember, this afternoon is when the Supreme Court had started hearing the Rahul Gandhi case, where it was challenging the Gujarat High Court's verdict that declined to put a hold on his conviction in the defamation case over the Modi surname remark. Earlier this year, Rahul Gandhi was disqualified as an MP for his comments that were linked to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Remember, he had made those comments while he was in Gujarat 2 years ago, in 2019 in fact, and that defamation case was filed from I believe in Bihar, and that's where in Gujarat, and that's how the case really reached the Surat courts. And after
initially onwards that this is a maximum punishment to disqualify Rahul Gandhi from the Lok Sabha. Entire episode was started when Rahul Gandhi speak about Adani-Modi relations in the parliament. Now, Supreme Court also, I think, sir, in the interim judgment, granting stay, conviction stay, they also telling that this maximum punishment is actually something to disqualify.
Are you happy with that order, sir?
Definitely, you know that we are believing the legal procedure of this higher system. What we got from Gujarat, this is totally a different verdict.
सर सुप्रीम कोर्ट की ओर से आज जो राहत मिली है राहुल गांधी को, लंबे समय से कांग्रेस पार्टी मांग कर रही थी, क्या कहना है सर आज जो ये वर्डिक्ट आया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का?
We will, our spokesperson will give details. Don't worry. First reaction is already we are welcoming this decision of stay of conviction.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, so that was the first reaction from...
My colleague Ananya is now joining us live from outside the court premises. Ananya, there's a big piece of news for Rahul Gandhi and the supporters of Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party. Next step is that he's going to be reinstated in the parliament. But right for now, the apex court staying that conviction of Rahul Gandhi that was held by all the other courts, the Gujarat High Court and before that...
Welcome back. You're watching Plain Speak here on CNN News 18. My name is Toya Singh. We're now walking you into our second debate. This is going to be much more like a conversation. We want to hear from you. Our second story tonight is one of great human interest because of how heartbreaking it is. In a horrifying incident at a high-rise society in Noida, Sector 137, a 73-year-old woman died after the lift that she was in collapsed midway. Now, she'd gotten onto the elevator from the 8th floor, but the wire of the elevator snapped, leading to a free fall between floors that may have caused the woman cardiac arrest. Now, just a few hours after, hundreds of residents of the Paras Tierra Society, where this happened, came out in the society's complex to protest this incident and the upkeep of common services like the management of lifts. But this is actually not the first time. Back in 2016 too, the society members had protested against what they call the poor quality of the builders' construction. Recently, we've seen several stories related to the lack of safety measures housing societies have in place across the country for their residents. Today on Plain Speak, we want to have a slightly different discussion where we hear from you, our audiences, about your urban residential trials, your woes. We also want to understand what you think can be done to make our houses homes. First, let's take a look at what happened at Paras Tierra. A 73-year-old elderly woman took a lift. She took it from the 8th floor. She was living in that apartment with her son and her daughter-in-law. Now, the lift suddenly collapsed midway, but it didn't actually touch the ground. This happened at 4:15 p.m. The elevator basically moved between floors. She was inside it. The victim was rescued after 45 minutes. She was rushed to a nearby hospital, but she was declared dead on arrival by the doctors. Now, it's yet to be seen if she died due to cardiac arrest or due to injuries she suffered, possibly on her head. Several questions arise here. Number one, why did it take 45 minutes to rescue the woman in the first place? Number two, did potential negligence and lapses either in the original construction, the construction of the elevator, the procurement of the elevator and the placement inside the building, or the maintenance? Was that the issue? Why weren't regular maintenance checks conducted? We know that they weren't being conducted the way they should be. And how did an earlier lift mishap that actually took place just a few days before that, where luckily there wasn't anyone in the elevator, how did that go unchecked? Are lifts in high-rise buildings themselves becoming death traps because of poor maintenance? Does more need to be done? That's what we want to discuss with you, particularly those of you that live in residential societies across the country. We're focusing today on this 76-year-old woman's life and story. Was this accident that she suffered, was it an accident in the first place, or was it actually sheer negligence from authorities? And how do we make high-rise buildings safer? These are the two questions we're taking a look at today on Plain Speak.
The doors completely get locked, and many times people here complain about the free fall. 30th June the contract got over, so there was no maintenance.
Okay, we are asking you to call in and tell us your thoughts, your plight, the problems that you face living in high-rise buildings in different metropolitan cities across the country. How do we make high-rise buildings and high-rise communities safer? What can we do to improve the experience? Call us on 0120-434-1895. 0120-434-1895. All right, we have two guests with us right now. First, to shed light on this story, we have Binay Kumar Singh. He's actually a resident of the tower complex where this took place, Paras Tera. Binay Kumar Singh, thank you for joining us, sir. Thank you for taking out the time. We also have Ravi Sinha. He's a real estate expert. We'll come over to him for his expertise on the ways in which complexes are managed across the country. Binay ji, I'm actually coming over to you first, because I first want to ask you about how you heard about this incident when it took place. Then tell us a little bit more about the experience of living in the society, because we've heard complaints from residents over the day today. I want to know what your experience has been, sir.
Yesterday, what was happening is very disheartening. और ये RWA का कहना है कि बिल्डर ने जो मेंटेनेंस करा था या मेंटेनेंस कर रहे थे वो प्रॉपर तरीके से नहीं कर रहे थे.
हाँ.
बट मेरा कहना ये भी है कि RWA ने जब हैंड ओवर लिया तो उन्होंने हैंड ओवर लेने में बहुत जल्दीबाजी कर दी, जिसकी वजह से ये सारी चीजें हो रही हैं. अगर उन्होंने प्रॉपर तरीके से हैंड ओवर लिया होता तो शायद ये मिस हैपनिंग नहीं हुई होती. बिल्डर ने जो करना था वो तो करके निकल गया, बट RWA ने भी अपना पूरा काम नहीं किया, जिसकी वजह से ये मिस हैपनिंग हुई.
सर, आप जब कह रहे हैं कि RWA ने पूरा काम नहीं किया, आप उसके बारे में और बता सकते हैं हमें?
मैम, हैंड ओवर लेने में उन्होंने बहुत ज्यादा जल्दीबाजी कर दी. उन्होंने हैंड ओवर विद इन अ मंथ, इतनी बड़ी सोसाइटी जहां 4,000 फ्लैट्स है, उसके हैंड ओवर लेने में विद इन अ मंथ इतने बड़े सोसाइटी का उन्होंने हैंड ओवर ले लिया. तो बेसिक चीजें जो उनको जाननी थी, समझनी थी, मे बी उन्होंने बिल्डर से समझा नहीं, या कहीं ना कहीं वो रह गया, जिसकी वजह से ये सारी चीजें हो रही है.
ओके सर, आप
बिल्डर के साथ
नहीं, सॉरी, आगे बढ़िए सर, क्या कह रहे थे आप?
नॉट गेटिंग योर वॉइस.
ऑलराइट, आर यू एबल टू हियर मी सर?
सॉरी,
Binay Kumar sir, are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Can I come to you with follow-up questions, sir? Can you tell me a little bit more about उस सोसाइटी में जहाँ पे आप रहते हैं, उसके बारे में आप हमें और बता सकते हैं? RWA के बारे में और बता सकते हैं? कोई ऐप है जिससे आप कोऑर्डिनेट करते हैं RWA के साथ? RWA कितना बड़ा है, हमें और बता सकते हैं सर?
मैम, जब बिल्डर, अब आई थिंक मई में इन्होंने बिल्डर से हैंड ओवर लिया था. जब तक बिल्डर के पास था तो हमारे पास यहाँ पे माई गेट के थ्रू या फिर हम ऑफिस डेस्क पे जाके अपने सारी चीजें जो भी कंप्लेन होती थी वो रेज करते थे. बट अभी हम जो कंप्लेन रेज करते हैं वो माई गेट पे ही करते हैं, और डेस्क पे या किससे बात करनी है, एस्केलेट किससे करना है, ये हमें अभी पता नहीं होता है. हम सिर्फ ऐप पे अपना रेज करते हैं, उसके बाद क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है हमें नहीं पता इसके बारे में. उसको कौन देख रहा है कौन नहीं देख रहा है, नो आइडिया.
ओके सर, आप हमें बता सकते हैं, कहा जा रहा है कि एक और ऐसा हादसा हुआ था कुछ ही दिन पहले जिसमें एलिवेटर गिरा था, तब एलिवेटर के अंदर कोई था नहीं. उस हादसे के बारे में आप कुछ जानते हैं सर?
मैम, यहाँ पे अक्सर ही ऐसा कुछ होते रहता है. आप आए दिन किसी भी आप टावर में चले जाइए, अमूमन आपको हर दूसरे दिन किसी ना किसी टावर में आपको लिफ्ट बंद मिलेंगी. रीजन नहीं पता होता है, एक्चुअल रीजन ये बताते भी नहीं है क्यों बंद है लिफ्ट, बट आपको हर टावर में ऐसे घटनाएं मिल जाएंगी.
ओके सर, आपसे ये भी पूछना है, RWA के बारे में आपने बात किया था, जो आपके कॉम्प्लेक्स का RWA है सर, वो इलेक्ट किया जाता है, कैसे सिलेक्ट किया जाता है, और जो प्रेसिडेंट है उनके बारे में आप कुछ जानते हैं सर?
मैम, एक्चुअली ये तो RWA फॉर्म हो गया, किसने फॉर्म किया, इन्हें किसने इलेक्ट किया, मोस्ट ऑफ द जो यहाँ पे रेसिडेंट है उनको नहीं पता है. इनफैक्ट मुझे भी नहीं पता.
आपने कहा था सर कि 4,000 लोग रहते हैं, क्या आपको पता है RWA का साइज कितना है, कितने लोग हैं जो मेंटेन करते हैं? नहीं,
मैम कुछ बता दो रहा हूँ, RWA के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता है. गिने चुने एक आध लोगों का नाम पता है, वो भी पूरे नाम नहीं पता है. और 4,000 तो मैम हाउस है, लोग कितने रहते हैं पता नहीं. 4,000 तो फ्लैट्स है.
ओके सर, एक और प्रश्न आपसे पूछना है, कल के हादसे के बारे में आप हमें और बता सकते हैं? रेजिडेंट्स का रिएक्शन क्या था, आपके नेबर्स का क्या रिएक्शन था सर इस पे?
मैम, कल शाम को जब मैं ऑफिस से वापस आया, अमून 7:15 बज रहे थे. 7:15 बजे का जब मैं गेट से एंटर लिया तो काफी भीड़ लगी हुई थी. तब मुझे पता चला कि टावर 24 में एक लिफ्ट के वायर टूटने की वजह से एक लेडी की डेथ हो गई है. फिर वहां पे पुलिस आई हुई थी, लोगों में काफी गुस्सा था, बट उसके बाद पुलिस प्रेसिडेंट जो कर्नल गौतम है उनको ले जाने की कोशिश कर रही थी. लोगों ने काफी रोका, रिजाइन मांग रहे थे. उसके बाद मैं वहां पे, और क्या हुआ उसके बारे में मुझे बहुत ज्यादा आइडिया नहीं है.
ओके, बट सर आप मुझे ये बता सकते हैं कि कल और आज के बीच में RWA की तरफ से कोई नोटिफिकेशन आया है इस इंसिडेंट के बारे में?
मैम एक नोटिफिकेशन क्या बोलोगे आप, एक सॉरी मैसेज आया है इनका ईमेल पे, बस इसके अलावा और ऐसा कुछ नहीं आया।
उसके बारे में सर हमें और बताइए।
सॉरी,
उस नोटिफिकेशन के बारे में हमें और बताइए, उनका क्या कहना था सर RWA का?
उनका कहना था कि उन्होंने मेंटेनेंस किसी को दे रखा था और मेंटेनेंस से वो बात कर रहे हैं। उन्होंने FIR जो है जिसको ARC दे रखा था, जो मेंटेनेंस का वो दे रखा है ईयरली मेंटेनेंस का, उसके ऊपर FIR करा है और उसे पुलिस ने तलब किया है। अब उसके आगे बहुत जानकारी नहीं है मुझे।
ओके सर, एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन आपसे यहाँ पे पूछना है, क्योंकि अभी आपने कहा कि जो आउटसाइड कोई एजेंसी है जो बाहर से आके अंदर आती है कॉम्प्लेक्स के अंदर और एलिवेटर की मेंटेनेंस करती है, उस एजेंसी का नाम जानते हैं हम? पुलिस उसके ऊपर भी इन्वेस्टिगेशन कर रही है सर अभी?
RWA का यही कहना है कि उन्होंने FIR लॉन्च किया है उसके ऊपर। अब इसके आगे मुझे बहुत ज्यादा आइडिया नहीं है।
ऑलराइट सर, हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए धन्यवाद। इफ आई कैन जस्ट आस्क यू, हमारे साथ रुके रहिए। आई वांट टू गो ओवर राइट नाउ टू रवि सिन्हा जी, ही इज अ रियल एस्टेट एक्सपर्ट. Mr. Sinha, unfortunately, so let me just actually, before I come over to you, quickly summarize for our viewers, particularly those who don't speak Hindi, what it is that Binay Kumar ji just told me. Essentially what he said is that the experience that he's had living in the complex over the last few years has been not one at all that has been satisfactory. He says that he has very little contact with the RWA, that there are about 4,000 flats, but that he doesn't know how large the RWA is. He did say that in yesterday's incident, the police came, the RWA president was held responsible, but an FIR has currently been filed against the company that manages the elevator, that comes in and does the outside maintenance. Now, Ravi Sinha ji, I'm coming over to you to understand more. You're a real estate expert. I thought you could provide our audiences with some context as to, especially having heard Binay Kumar ji's entire statement, what is your perspective on the way this particular society is running things? I'll then take it to a bigger question, sir.
Incidentally, I have also lived in that society in the past. So
Okay.
I have a better perspective on that given society. See, there are basically three stakeholders in any given society when it comes to proper maintenance of the society. Builder, authorities, and home buyers. Builders have compromised the societies in general across the Noida and Greater Noida. If you look at the condition of the elevators, I mean, they are using the low-grade powder-coated elevators and not even stainless steel elevators. The size of the elevators
sir, one second,
in
just
general
break down for our audiences. Sorry, sir. Before you go ahead, break down to our audiences why that matters, please.
Sorry, I'm coming to see, when you make a high-rise apartment, normally fire safety and lift safety are two very important components. But what actually happens is that since there is no check and balance mechanism on part of the government agencies, the developers compromise with the quality of fire safety and lift safety. Mostly they use the low quality powder coated lifts, which are the most low quality and lowest cost elevators. Across the matured markets, if you go to Mumbai or Bangalore, you will see they use stainless steel elevators. So number one, your quality of elevators are very poor.
Okay,
number
wait,
two,
sir, stay with me.
is-
We have you on number one, which is that the quality of elevators is very poor. We're going to pause you there for a second. We have a caller coming in. I'll come back to you because I do want to understand more. Saket is with us from Bihar. Saket, thank you for joining us here on the show. Let me just tell our audiences, you can call us live on 0120-434-1933. I'm going to speak to Saket in Hindi. We'll translate later. Saket ji, हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए धन्यवाद. Saket ji, इस खबर पे आपकी क्या प्रतिक्रिया है सर?
ये मेरी प्रतिक्रिया ये है मैम, मैं एडवाइस के तौर पर कहना चाहूंगा कि लिफ्ट के अंदर मोबाइल नंबर यानी कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर होनी चाहिए जो मेंटेनर है उनका भी, और इमरजेंसी के लिए होना चाहिए। नहीं रहता है, अक्सर मैं देखता हूँ।
सर आप हमें ये
हाँ।
बताइए, आप एक ऐसे हाई राइज कॉम्प्लेक्स में रहते हैं, आपके साथ ऐसी एक्सपीरियंस हुई है क्या?
जी, ये कभी फील होता है कि कुछ कि जैसे लोग जब उसमें इन करते हैं या आउट होते हैं या किसी भी तरह का लाइट ऑफ हो जाती है, इस टाइप का जब हम फेस करते हैं,
हाँ जी, हाँ जी,
तो एक कांटेक्ट नंबर उस पर रहना चाहिए। कांटेक्ट नंबर नहीं रहता है किसी लिफ्ट में देखता।
All right, sir. Thank you for giving that recommendation. Saket from Bihar saying that elevators need to make sure they have a number that people can call if there's any kind of problem. Now, we have Harbir Singh who's joining us from Gurgaon, so from right here in the NCR region. Harbir, thank you for joining us. Harbir, what is your reaction to this story? Do you live in a complex building? I ask you, Gurgaon is full of complex buildings. Do you live in one?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. Actually, no, I'm an NRI and I'm visiting Gurgaon, but I do live in the US. But my question to you is, why don't you sue these people who what's happened over here? It's just ridiculous. And thank you for doing this because, thanks CNN, because it's just been the whole politics thing going on. And it's very shameful what happened to this 75-year-old lady. What are these people doing who are not maintaining? Yes, okay, my mom lives in India. She lives in a high-rise building like this one. But people don't care. It's all about money and it's all about maintenance. They just want money, paying $5,000, $6,000 a month. But then nothing happens. Took 45 minutes for this lady, for this elevator to come down and she dies. I'm really sorry for her family and thank you again for taking my call.
The tricky thing, Harbir, and I want to get your opinion on this is, as we can see already in this case, there's a passing of the buck taking place. The RWA should be making sure the checks are happening, but the RWA is now holding responsible the company that comes in to do those checks. Do you have any comment on that? All right, I think we've actually lost our connection with Harbir. We have another caller who's come over. This is from Bangalore. Ramamurthy is with us. Ramamurthy, I want to understand what your response is to this. We were just hearing right now that Bengaluru is one of the markets in which you do find high-rise complexes. Do you happen to live in one? Do you have an opinion on this story?
Yes, I do have a story. Basically, I'm in this field of safety. I'm a safety expert. I've worked in about 5 countries. And I did have an experience in 1997, and I was caught in an elevator for a day and a half, the overnight on a weekend. Basically, coming to this incident, because I also do something called as a housekeeping audit or a health checkup audit for industries. Okay, for industries where they have all these elevators and things, complete, end-to-end. Most of the time what is happening is that there is a compromise which takes place. And if you take in India, every city has got more than 500 people who are classified auditors or certifiers who don't even have a degree. So here I think this is a real case study where I would request all the premises where they need to hire people like TV or Lloyd's, and on a yearly basis, it's not going to cost much because each house owner or a flat owner he's only going to sell about 1,000 rupees per annum. I think a complete end-to-end health checkup should be done for all this. And here what I see is, because I have audited a couple of incidents similar to this in Bangalore, here I think something has been compromised. Now I think the state government, the Home Secretary should take it up, and I definitely feel this lady, it is not her mistake. I think she should be given a big compensation, but at the end of the day, it's not about the compensation, but if this can be, this could happen in one place, it could happen in 200 places the same day in same place.
Okay, Mr. Ramamurthy, can I just ask you, because you are familiar with this entire terrain, can you tell our audiences, in your experience, what is the kind of government mechanism that exists to make sure that the audits are taking place? Is there any?
Yeah, there is something like, such a premises. You have around 113 questionnaires. And it has to be done by a competent person, competent person who does not compromise. In such places, what happens is the guys don't even come to the site, but they give a certificate. And I think a complete thorough investigation has to be done. And if we can get a clue on this, it can be replicated in 10 more places at the same time.
Okay, Mr. Ramamurthy, I'd like to first also say thank you to you. You are the only caller who's actually experienced this, where, you said you were stuck in an elevator for a day and a half. That's horrifying to hear. Thank you, though, for also bringing us your expertise. I'd also like to thank the other callers who were with us right now, and, of course, the panelists that were with us. We're going to have to wrap up. This is a particularly important issue and one around which we won't allow the discussion to end. This is Plain Speak. Thank you for staying with us over the last 1 hour.
Namaste and Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. We begin with big news coming through. It's a CNN News 18 exclusive. We've got information, our investigations editor Manoj Gupta getting us these details that the NSA Ajit Doval is right now at the airport ready to depart for Jeddah for peace talks. And according to top government sources, the National Security Advisor has embarked on a journey to Jeddah for crucial Ukraine peace negotiations. This is what government sources are actually confirming. India is playing